Hi everyone, it's Deandra here. Today's topic on Just In Case has got to do with the ultimate beneficial owner, which is an aspect of FICA I find can be quite challenging, but I'm going to try and show you ways of how to get to this person and the 3 steps that the Financial Intelligence Center suggests what that one should use in order to find out who this natural person or persons would be. So in terms of Section 21B of the Financial Intelligence Center Act, as amended by the General Laws Anti-Money Laundering and Combating of Terrorist Financing Amendment Act, there is a requirement now to find out who the beneficial owners are of an entity, and preferably who the ultimate beneficial owner would be. So there is a difference between being a legal owner and being the ultimate beneficial owner, but I will get into that a bit later. But this stems from Section 21A and B in the FIC Act. Please note that when I make reference to a legal person, this would include a partnership and a trust, and finding out who those persons are that we are looking for. So when I say legal persons or legal entities, it includes partnerships and trusts. So we know that if you are a shareholder, and it used to be 25% or more, which would have made you a beneficial owner, it is now brought down to only 5%. So if you are a shareholder holding shares in an entity, 5% or more of those shares, you are a beneficial owner. And this includes if you have voting rights, which is 5% or more within that entity. And this is the first step of departure, is to find out who are the people that have more than 5% shareholding or voting rights of 5% or more in that entity. So just to be clear, let's say we're starting with a transaction and we do have a legal person, partnership or trust. The question is, what are we actually trying to do? And according to Public Communication, Compliance Communication number 59, issued by the Financial Intelligence Center, one would now say, okay, who are the beneficial owners, or who basically has the benefit of this entity's operations. So essentially, your ultimate beneficial owner is the one who's able to pull the strings. So this makes it a bit easier because of the fact that the Companies Act in Section 32A provides that beneficial owners should have or make themselves known in the register, and that is why the CIPC sent out those letters a while back wherein it was said that please all shareholding must be disclosed, and this really makes it easier for people to try and determine who these people are. Oftentimes finding out what is the structure or the ownership structure at least of the entity is a good starting point, an organogram indicating this, to show the respective shareholding as well, and also whether any of those shareholders are entities themselves, because that goes a layer deeper into the assessment. It's important to note that let's say that you're now unable to find out who owns more than 5% of the shareholding, or you just can't find this person based on also voting rights 5% or more. Then you go over to step number 2, and step number 2 entails the following. So this is where the accountable institution should identify the natural persons who exercises ownership or control in another way. For example, being a nominee, shareholder or director, having some kind of power of attorney. There are many different kinds of ways that this could happen. Court order, possibly, delegations of authority, and even through knowing that they can make truly influential decisions pertaining to the operations of the company or the entity. So you look a bit broader than that. You're looking at other ways that possibly they could be exercising this control, and this is by other means. So step number 2 all deals with being able to exercise control through any other means. Step number 3, this is an interesting one. So there are times when there is a direct person who is able to be an executive director, and this person can decide what happens to the management of the company, who should be the managers. But you also get non-executive directors that can make massive decisions, and you also get executive officers that can make decisions like this, non-executive directors, or independent non-executive directors. So these are also supposed to be disclosed to the CIPC. That was quite difficult. And in terms of the practical side of, great, but how do I do this? And my time constraints. Well, you are allowed to contact third-party sources in order to verify someone's identity or to make sure and verify that the information is correct. And these could be the accountants or the auditors of the entity. They could send a letter confirming the case, and also obviously you are allowed to get a CIPC printout. As mentioned, the CIPC also expects the anonymous or non-executive directors to also put their names down and register, and so that they're known as well. So let's look at ultimate beneficial ownership. There are 2 sides to it. The first one is your ownership, and then there is your ability to control. And control is a very specific term. So when does someone control an entity? This is if a person is able to have a truly material influence in the decisions of the legal person. If you need help, you should ask your deputy or head officer, because this implies additional due diligence, which means additional scrutiny and just going that extra step further. Thank you so much.